Hello and welcome back to my channel, and in today's review we're going to be taking a look at the newly released Transformers masterpiece MP-46 Blackwidow from Beast Wars, also most commonly known as Blackarachnia. Now if you are in the market for picking one of these figures up, then I definitely recommend that you should check out Showz's store, and for that there will be links down in the description box below where you can order Blackarachnia right now and add her to your collection. To begin with, we'll take a very quick look at Blackarachnia's packaging. As you can see, we've got a fantastic product shot of both Blackarachnia in her Blackwidow alt form as well as in her robot mode, looking incredibly elegant. On the side of the packaging we've got an image of Blackarachnia in her robot mode, and then on the back of the packaging we've got an entire plethora of different product images of both her in her robot mode as well as her spider mode. It also demonstrates some of the various accessories and also has some screen caps from the actual Beast Wars animation TV show. And then when you flip around to the other side of the packaging, we've got an image of her in her spider mode, and the top of the packaging showcases Transformers masterpiece MP-46 Destron Spire Blackwidow from Beast Wars. And here we have Blackarachnia as she comes packaged in her spider mode. Now before we get into the figure herself, we're first of all going to take a look at some of the accessories. If you order direct from Showz's store, you will in fact get the exclusive Takara Tomy MP-46 collector's coin, which I think is a fantastic addition to these MP figures. And just opening that up once again, if you watched my Bumblebee review, it is simply just a die-cast collector's pin with Blackarachnia's head sculpt in the middle of what looks to be a matrix of leadership, Transformers masterpiece and MP-46. So definitely a really nice collector's piece. We also get a Harpoon Weapon, which this time it does in fact actually include a fabric type of rope, so you can actually prong the figure in both robot mode and in spider mode, which I'll demonstrate later on, and have it look as if though she has shot a web out of her butt, or in fact shot it out of her weapon. This is a really nice inclusion and definitely allows for various different posability options, and definitely allows you to get this figure into some fantastic poses, particularly for photography. The figure also comes with this visor section. I do believe that this is when she connects with Tarantula and she begins to download some of his memories. I'm not entirely sure as the main role of this in the show. It has been a very long time since I actually watched that episode, which I did watch indeed, and I definitely do remember her hooking up to, I do believe it was Tarantula, I could be wrong, but she definitely hooked up to someone in order to download their memories. This looks really cool, and as you can see, it's got a fairly hard plastic wire, which does in fact have a connector onto the end of it, so I do imagine we will get Tarantula down the line for the MP releases, and you'll be able to hook this up to both Blackarachnia and that figure. As well as those accessories, she also comes with two alternate looking faceplates. This one is a more neutral expression for Blackarachnia, and this one here has got green eyes with a very angry looking head sculpt. I actually really like the look of this. It's very menacing, and you can pick out some fangs where the teeth are, so definitely a really nice looking head sculpt for this figure. Now taking a look at Blackarachnia herself, here we have her sprayed along her web, which is also another accessory that this figure comes with. As you can see, this is a fantastic looking dioramic display piece, and you can really get this figure looking incredible on the shelf if you utilize both the display base and the spider web. The spider web does come in 4 different sections, and you do have to combine it in order to create what we see here. It's made out of very hard translucent blue plastic, and I think that it looks really awesome with the figure on there. If I had one complaint, it would be how difficult it is to actually get the figure to stay on here. I will show you how she actually holds on, but it is just due to her weapon, which plugs onto the base of the figure on these very skinny tabs. So every time you go and force the clip onto the web, it does tend to dislodge the connection, but once you get it hooked on there, it will definitely hold really nicely. And as you can see, I think that this is definitely the best display option, that you can display the spider mode when you have her all transformed up. Now I'm going to do something which is incredibly heart-wrenching for me to do, and that's actually remove her from her spider web. This did take me an incredibly long time to actually get her displayed on there, but you're more than likely going to take the weapon with you. As you can see, it just stays on there. This weapon here is held on by 2 slots, which are held on by these 2 very skinny, very shallow tabs, and honestly, these do not hold the the weight of the figure incredibly well whatsoever. So I do definitely recommend that if you do want to display her on the web, patience is definitely a virtue in this case, as you really do have to manage it incredibly well. And considering this figure is rather delicate, I wouldn't recommend manhandling this figure too much. But as you can see, unfortunately, her weapon did stay on this, so just deploying this. This is exactly the same as the previous weapon we took a look at, only this time it is literally just the harpoon without the string. Once again, incredibly detailed, but this plays more of a role when we get her into robot mode. And just taking a look at the spider web once again, this stand here is actually displayable and posable on a few different joints. It has got a very heavy ratchet joint, which is great to see. It does have different hinge joints here in order for you to move the web around in whatever way you so choose, and I really like how this translucent web has turned out. I definitely think that Takara did a very good job of executing this in a plastic format. So now taking a more detailed look at the figure herself, here we have her in her spider mode, and I've got to say that the spider mode is incredibly realistic, and I really think that is due to the fact of how they've actually sculpted these legs. These definitely do look very realistic to a real life spider, and you are able to get this figure in many poses within this mode, granted if the legs can support her body weight, to allow her to really look incredibly realistic. Bringing her in for a closer look, as you can see, for the head sculpt of the spider, we do in fact have the 8 eyes, which look incredibly menacing, and they've all been picked out in a nice gold paint. We can pick out these mandibles here, which are in fact articulated, so you can prong them out and prong them in. All the legs are on ball joints, and I've got different hinge joints roughly in the center, so you are able to articulate those in whatever way you so choose. And this head joint here is on a ball joint, so it can rotate 360 as well as look up and down, and also side to side very slightly. She has got a really nice looking texture on where the main abdomen section is for this spider, with the Blackwidow time glass at the top, which looks really nice. And overall, I actually think that for a spider mode, this has come out really nicely. These Beast Wars figures are quite difficult, obviously, to simulate a really nice looking beast mode and a really nice looking robot mode, and considering this figure does turn into a spider and a very accurate looking robot mode, I think that Takara did a really nice job in ensuring that this figure was as accurate as it possibly could be. From certain angles, it definitely does look like a spider. However, of course, from different angles you can pick out different robot mode elements, but honestly, I can't fault this figure whatsoever. This is incredibly enjoyable. Now, bringing in the harpoon weapon that we had earlier on, you can in fact insert this into the back section. However, this is where her weapon is, and her weapon isn't tabbed in there all that securely, so I really do recommend take caution when utilizing this harpoon weapon with this, as if you have her displayed on a very high height, and if this dislodges and she falls, I'm not entirely sure of the longevity of these spider legs. They could perhaps break, but you simply just want to take this peg here and plug this into this port, and just snapping that into place, and you can hook this really and truly wherever you want. And as you can see, you can have the spider mode dangle. I did actually have this in quite a good few poses later on. Perhaps I'll show some images on screen, but this is definitely a really nice added feature, and you can have her dangling down from different surfaces, and it just adds to the overall play value of this figure and overall display ability. So with all that wrapped up, now let's take a look at some size comparisons between Blackarachnia and the Beast Wars masterpiece Megatron. So for a very quick size comparison, here we have Blackarachnia compared next to the Beast Wars Megatron in his dinosaur mode or his T-Rex mode. As you can see, she's tiny when compared to the gigantuan Beast Wars Megatron, which she really should be. I'm not entirely sure whether the scale here is accurate, but I definitely think that it works really nicely. She's definitely very dainty when compared next to the huge, very heavy looking Beast Wars Megatron, and I really hope that we do get more of these Predacons in the Beast Wars masterpiece line. So now with everything just about covered up for Blackarachnia's beast mode, let's actually transform her into her even better robot mode. To begin with, we're going to want to come around to the back now and just pull this section out and pull it away from the rear end of the figure. What we can do now is essentially take these little knee pads and just pull those up. I like doing this as it allows for some extra clearance later on. We can then take this panel here and just flip this up as well, and this will just allow for you to disengage the legs. We can then rotate the legs out to the sides just like this, and then proceed to elongate those out at the knees. Bringing those around now, we can come to these thigh sections, and we can proceed to collapse these in upon themselves on double joints just to fill in the gap and complete the overall look. And then we're going to want to rotate her thighs around just to make them look more streamlined. fold out the knee pad so that it makes the rest of the sculpt look coherent, and repeat the same process for this side. What we can then do is take her feet and just fold those out as well, and then repeat the same process now with this side. Come to the underside and flick out her heel spurs and bring those out to the sides as well. Flick out her heel spurs. Now we come to the entire top region of Blackarachnia, which is honestly fairly straightforward. You're going to want to come to this section here where these two arms are and just pull those away from the body and separate them and bring those out to the sides. What we can do here is bring all these spider legs down. We're going to want to compress the mandibles just like so. Come to this whole section here and you're going to want to straighten this out. This is very well tabbed in there, so just get your finger in here and straighten this out until that snaps out just like this. Now what we can do is pull out her arms to the sides just to allow for some clearance. Take this crotch section here, bring it around and rotate it, and then what we can proceed to do is take this entire body section here, lift this section up, and now what's going to happen is this will actually tuck into place inside this joint. So as you can see, there is a small slot here that this tab here will actually plug into. So just bring that all the way in, snap that into place, and then this piece here will rotate and snap into place as well. What we can now proceed to do is take the main beast mode head sculpt and just rotate it around and sit it flush along the body, ensuring that this section here is firmly tabbed into place, and snap this into place as well. This will obviously create where her ab section is, and now what we can do is take her entire chest region as well as her head sculpt and just pop it over the top of this back section. Just bring this all the way over and compress it, and you're going to want to compress these head joints so that they fill in this gap here. So just compress all of that, and now this chest region, there is a tab, gold tab, that will plug into a slot there. Just take this here and snap that into place, and then her head should recess backwards. In terms of this whole section here, what you're going to want to do here is compress this section here and just fold all of this up upon itself, and she does actually have an incredibly flush backpack. We can now take the arms and bring those down as well as the shoulders. These are all on different joints. Bring out her claws. These sections here you can rotate and just leave those off to the back if you want. Just have the spider limbs resting at the back, and bring this section down as well and rotate this section around and these around, and then bring these limbs to the back and just have the spider legs in a grouped formation. But with all that being said, here we have the Transformers MP-46 Blackarachnia in her really eloquent, very awesome looking robot mode. So after what I'm sure you'll agree with me on, a very simplistic transformation for a masterpiece figure, we are left with an incredibly detailed looking MP-46 Blackarachnia. Her robot mode looks almost dead on to the on-screen model. As you can see, she has got a phenomenal looking head sculpt. I have opted to go with the head sculpt that is more of a smirk, and I've just realised that one of these shoulder pad sections need to be brought around. But as you can see, super nice looking detail. We can pick out Blackarachnia's mouth as well as the slits in her eyes, and she's also got some nice textured detailing on the sides of her head. And then when you flip around to the back, we've got all of these different spider eyes which look incredibly creepy. Really awesome. Her chest region here are incredibly pointy. Takara really did have an incredibly fun time of making these as pointy as they possibly could be. And we've also got what appears to be spider leg tattoos on them as well, which looks really nice. We've got some nice detailings here for the upper arms of some metallic green paint, and I think that her claws have actually turned out really nicely as well. We've got this faux section here which is also supposed to be spider eyes, and these two have been done really nicely in a very similar gold paint to the rest of the sculpt. Her legs are incredibly eloquent. As you can see, they do fold up and compress really nicely and look very detailed to how they appeared on screen. And then coming down to her feet, these are on multiple layered panels, but overall she really does look very impressive. Now, in terms of articulation, Blackarachnia has got a ball joint at the head, so she is able to look left to right, up and down, tilt side to side. You can also use her neck joint in order to get her looking even further down or even even further up. The arms can rotate 360 as well as hinge out to the sides on these hinge joints. There is a rotation joint where the bicep is, as well as beneath the bicep as well. She has got a double jointed elbow. She does have wrist articulation for where her claws are, as well as various different hinge joints in order for you to spray her claws open in a much more aggressive manner. The ab section does actually have quite a few joints, so you are able to extend this joint if you want and have her crunch forwards, backwards, as well as side to side, as well as rotate left to right. And once you compress it, you still get the similar range of motion, but not to that extravagant degree. Her legs can kick forwards that far as well as back that far, and if you utilize this double hinge joint, you are in fact able to get them even more a great degree of motion out of those legs, which is awesome to see. And she can do the splits incredibly well, full rotations at the thighs, as well as a double joint at the knee, getting her able to kick herself up the backside. We also have got ankle rocker joints, so she can hinge forwards and backwards. She can't really pivot forwards and down due to transformation, but I really think that does allow you to get this figure into some fantastic poses. Now, in terms of her spider limbs, you can leave those like this, or alternatively you can recreate that scene, and it's actually stated on the packaging where she uses these as Gatling guns, which I think is a really nice concept. I perhaps would have liked it if Takara could have included some small blast effects just to add onto the tip of the spider legs, just to give that illusion that she is in fact firing out of them. But as you can see, you can have her really decked out with all these spider limbs and have her go crazy at any of the maximals utilizing these machine gun like spider legs. Now, taking the accessory that we took off her earlier on and transforming it, we simply just bring this section down, and then these sections here proceed to rotate down just like so, and then this rests like this. This has got some lovely detailings on it as well, and this can insert into either of her claws. As you can see, there is a huge port that will plug onto either of the pegs on the handles. So just showcasing this, you just want to tab that in and then close up the claw to give it a more complete look, and bringing these spider legs to the back just to aid clearance. We can either take this section here, which is actually the faux harpoon. This doesn't have the wire on the end of it. However, as you can see, I do have some paint scuffage of where I've actually inserted this in there, so I would definitely take caution when putting this in there. I perhaps wouldn't push it in all of the way. That is her decked out using her harpoon weapon. Unfortunately, there really isn't a way to actually attach the real one with the actual wire on the end of it into this. The port is too small for the plug, which is such a shame, as you could probably get this figure into some quite cool poses if that could have actually inserted, but as you can see, it is an incredibly loose fit. Now, swapping out her face plates for some of the alternate heads, all you have to do is just get your thumb in there and pry open the crest section, and her face mask should completely remove just like so. And putting the more extravagant, more expressive green-eyed faceplate on, you can tab that on and really create a very different look for her overall robot mode. Now, also bringing in a different accessory that we had earlier on, here is her visor. This is a pain to actually plug onto her. You have to get the wire underneath her armpit, otherwise, due to how actually firm this is, it does push the connection away from her face, and you just want to grasp this over the eyes and it will snap into place. But there we have Blackarachnia decking out with her visor, and I actually think once again that this looks really awesome, particularly with this facial expression. It does definitely look like she's intaking all of the data that she's absorbing from tarantulas, and as you can see, this section unfortunately did fall off, but it does just peg back on, but makes this incredibly loose. But you get the idea. A really nice added feature, and I think we'll probably play more into this figure once we get more Beast Wars figures further down the line. For a quick robot mode size comparison, here we have Blackarachnia next to her arch nemesis Cheetor. She is quite smaller than Cheetor, however I definitely think that this is the scale that we saw in the show. Upon handling these two, there is definitely a drastic weight difference in terms of how heavy Cheetor is compared to Blackarachnia, but do not be fooled by her lightness. She is definitely an incredibly well made figure and definitely feels very sturdy. She is merely lighter due to the lack of parts count and due to how slim and streamlined the overall design is in the show. Now bringing her spiderweb back in for another look, in order to actually hook her onto this, what you're going to want to do is remove this transparent clear clip, which is incredibly difficult to remove due to how firmly snug it is in there. But once that is removed, you can actually peg this section into this bracket section here. This is the way that I like to display it for when I'm utilizing it for her robot mode. So just snap that in, and as you can see here, it will expose this peg. That when you actually take Blackarachnia and lift up this section here on this double hinge joint, you can open this up and you will expose a slight slot in where her butt section is, and you can just take her and peg her into the web, and you can have her hanging out on the web in robot mode. And due to the fact that she actually has those double hinge joints in her thighs, you can utilize those and get her into that cross-legged pose that we see her in the show when she's balancing herself on the web, which I actually think is a super nice touch, and once again allows you to utilize the web for her in her robot mode. So that was my review on the Transformers MP-46 Beast Wars Blackarachnia Masterpiece figure. Personally, I was thoroughly impressed with this figure. After recently reviewing the MP-45 Bumblebee, I was really distasteful with Takara's quality of their most recent Masterpiece figures, but I've definitely got to say that having Blackarachnia in hand, it has restored my faith in the Takara engineer team. This figure looks fantastic in both her Beast modes as well as her Robot mode, or should I say more particularly in her Robot mode. Whilst the Beast mode is good, it's definitely not perfect, but I think it does the job reasonably well. Her robot mode is definitely where this figure shines the most. I definitely think the robot mode is incredibly strong, really faithful to the on-screen TV show model, and I think that she's got some phenomenal detail as well as articulation. I also think that she includes an amazing amount of different accessories. The spiderweb is a fantastic touch. All of the different alternate faceplates are really nice, as well as some of the different accessories, such as the harpoon that you can really and truly use in her spider mode in order to get her actually looking as if though she's spinning a web. So for a whole set, I really do think this figure is really and truly worth it. She's one of the most enjoyable MP figures that I've picked up to date, and I really cannot wait to see what Takara dish out later down the line. With all that being said, if you are in the market for picking this amazing figure up, then I definitely recommend that you check out Showzi's store, where once again she is now in stock and ready to ship, so you could have this figure in your collection within the next coming days. I really hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please let me know down in the comment section below, and be sure to stay tuned for my other Transformers related videos. Thanks for watching.